time for a rant. This one is about health insurance. Yeah, because and pharmacy insurance, medication insurance and all that. The way things are in America, right? So, got put on a new prescription. And until I get the new prescription sorted out, I don't want to mess with my antidepressant. Just simply because I don't like messing with too many things at one time. So they gave me a short-acting pill. And I said, I'm really bad about remembering to take it until I start getting really tired. And then I'm like, oh, wait, I need to take that pill so I can concentrate. So they went ahead and raised it up and did an extended release that I could take once a day. Well, there was only one formulation of this generic that my insurance would pay for. It was a pain in the ass to get, as far as getting my doctor to prescribe the right one. So I get on this one and I'm like, yeah, it's working okay. It's just like I can't really feel that it's working, not like the short acting. And so she's like, well, I think we should raise it up. And she goes, well, can we do the 27 milligrams, because this that you're taking doesn't go up. And so I was like, okay. And we had thought that like the biphasal would work, but my insurance absolutely will not pay for the biphasal. And a month's supply of the biphasal is like $1,000 for that. And when I say biphasal, some of them are like, it'll release 70% or 30%, and then over the course of the day, release the other percentage. So they're like, yeah, they don't cover that. And I was like, okay, they don't cover patches. That's an insane price. And so she's like 27. And I was like, well, I know that my insurance will not cover that, because I had already checked and it said the insurance wouldn't cover it. And so she says, well, we'll try the 36. And I'm like, yeah, I'm pretty sure the insurance is not going to cover it. And she said, well, for once, I'll do a prior authorization. She normally does not do prior authorizations. And I was like, yeah, okay, that's great. Do the prior authorization. And so in the meantime, I'm having to wait for this medication, which doesn't have major withdrawal symptoms, but it's like, I've gotten kind of used to things not being so loud in my head. And then I'm having to wait again, when I'm just like, why can't you just prescribe 2 of what I'm taking in the morning? And she said, well, with that particular drug, they won't allow that. You can only take 1 pill. I'm like, yeah, but okay. So I wait and wait. They put in the prior authorization on the 11th. Today is the 17th. I finally see that it's under review. 4 o'clock rolls around. I get a call from the doctor's office. They're not going to pay for it. And she told me what it would cost me out of pocket. And I was like, yeah, no. So just give me the lesser dosage that kind of works. And get that sorted out. And the thing is what really aggravates me about our system is when you're trying to treat a patient and you're like, well, hey, let's up the dosage to this, or let's change the medication to the newer medication. Because like when you look at like the generations of medications, Celexa is like first generation Lexapro. Like when the Celexa patent ran out, Lexapro became the big money maker for Forest Pharmaceuticals. And when the Lexapro patent ran out and people could start making generics, they tweaked it again to make another drug that's name I can't remember. And all they do is they just change it just a teeny bit, just a bit, just enough to where they can send their pharmaceutical reps out to tell you how much better this drug is from the one before. and that's the one you need to prescribe. But the thing is that the insurance won't pay for it. Insurance decides, they pick and choose what they like and what they don't like. And some of them just flat out, if there isn't a generic for it, they ain't paying. They will not, even with a prior authorization, which the prior authorization was she needs about 40 milligrams, and you won't pay, or I can't write for 2 of the 20 milligrams because this isn't a medication you take twice a day. And she can't write it for 2 pills once a day because they're very strict on ADHD medications. But it's the same thing with like sleep medications that, when they try you on all kinds of stuff, if it doesn't have a generic, your insurance is probably not going to cover it. And then they want you to pony up. It's like, yeah, sleep is important, but I'm really going to lose sleep if I spend, $500 per month on some freaking sleeping pills. Just shit. That's the problem, like when the doctor says, I get it that you don't want like the newest, most expensive thing to be the first thing the doctor prescribes. You want them to start cheap and move their way up. And there's nothing wrong with that. Sometimes the oldest medications are some of the best medications. I started out on my antidepressant journey on some of the one of the oldest antidepressants you could get. It was a tricyclic antidepressant. It was old. It was cheap. But it saved my life. And then as time went on, when I had different insurances, it was like, if it doesn't have a brand name, like I don't want to pay the brand name price. Even if my insurance covers it, I don't want to pay $50 for it. I don't want to pay $20 for it. I want something that has a generic. And then at some point you get to a point where you're like, well, I've tried everything that there is. Here's what I need. And for an insurance company to say, no, we won't pay for that, or they pay for your surgery, but they don't want to pay for the anesthesia. Like, what? You were supposed to be awake for the whole thing? Like, come on. Like, there are some really weird things that insurance does. And, when you look at how much some people pay for insurance, and then they've got these, 25 for a generic, 50 for a name brand. And darn well in Canada and in England, they're getting the same medication for that price without needing insurance. Probably not even that price, probably a lot cheaper. Because they've done, like if you Google how much how much one pill costs in the USA versus what it costs in Canada, there's a big difference. The pharmaceutical companies are not making their money off of Canada and Europe. They're making it off of America because they basically, like the insurance company says, this is how much we'll pay. And they decide, okay, that's good. We'll do that. Your insurance company says, we don't want to pay that. And that company either has to say, well, we're not lowering our price, or, well, we'll give you a special deal if you take this other name brand off your formulary. At least I think that's how it works. Like when you look at the formularies, the competing drugs are not typically on the same formulary. And it's because they've got a special deal with the insurance company. And I saw it when Prilosec became generic, that some insurance companies, it was cheaper to get the name brand over the counter in the box than to get the generic because they have a deal. In the meantime, you're having to deal with just taking the medications that your insurance will cover. And that is just so wrong on so many levels.